Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. Today I wanted to take some time to talk about personal profiles. In the past year and a half, I'd say I've read close to 300 personal profiles, give or take, and there have been some trends that I have noticed. Today I am going to share with you the 5 common mistakes that I've noticed in your personal profiles. At the end of the day, this is your personal profile, it's not mine, so whatever you want to write and whatever really resonates with you is what you need to include. But these are just some things to be mindful of. The very first thing that I've noticed when reading some of your personal profiles is that a lot of you guys like to list things. And as much as listing is great when it comes to telling UBC all of the incredible things that you've done, it doesn't really tell UBC much about what those experiences meant for you, what you learned from them, the impact that you had on your community or a specific event, anything like that. It just tells UBC that you did something. As much as UBC wants to see what you've accomplished, they don't care about all of the things that you've done. They want to see the impact that a few experiences have had on you and what that's meant. In some of the personal profiles that I've read, that's what some of you guys have done, and honestly, it's not effective at all. I just sit there and go, okay, you've just told me all of these incredible things about you, but you didn't tell me what that actually means for you. If you have the tendency to just list a whole bunch of things, maybe consider writing them down on a separate piece of paper and then choosing a few specific things that you want to talk about before actually starting to write your personal profile. The next thing that is ridiculously common, sentence structure, good old grammar. We're just going to talk about grammar for like 30 seconds here. So when it comes to sentence structure, so many of you guys like to use the same style over and over and over and over and over and over again. As much as writing in a style that's comfortable for you is important, you also need to be considerate of the reader. If I'm reading like a paragraph where each sentence starts with like thus, therefore, hence, and so forth, that's just it's so repetitive. Making sure that you have some level of variation in your personal profile is important because it keeps the reader engaged. The next thing I think is the most important. I have read a lot of personal profiles that don't sound authentic. And when I say that, I mean that some people are using words that really just sound out of place. They don't fit with the flow of the writing, they don't suit the voice, and it just makes for a very awkward personal profile. As the writer, you may not think that it's very obvious when people are using words that may not necessarily suit their style of writing, but it is. But more often than not, it usually just comes across as people trying to sound smarter than they are, trying to inflate themselves in some way, and as much as I understand wanting to do that, it's so important to make sure that you're authentic and that you're speaking in your true voice. If they just wanted to admit people based on how smart they were, they would just use grades. But the personal profile gives you an opportunity to show them who you are outside of your grades. So why would you waste that chance on trying to make yourself sound smarter than you are? Because they can see your grades. They know what you're capable of academically. Again, maybe it's part of your writing style to use really fancy words, but if they don't resonate with you and you're putting them in there because you think that's what UBC wants you to put in there, don't. Don't do anything in your personal profile that you think UBC wants to see. They want to see you. So whatever you entail, that's what needs to be in your personal profile. So the next thing that I want to talk about kind of ties into listing a little bit. What I'm going to tell you here is not to just state something. If UBC is asking you what's the importance of this experience, what's the meaning behind this experience, you need to tell them. Or rather than just stating what the importance is or what the meaning is behind something and moving on to the next thing, it's very important that you dive into the details of that. So you don't want to stay surface level here, because as much as that can be effective in telling them exactly what they want, they're also looking for how that's affected you. So making sure that you're not just kind of going, one and done, boom, that's good, is very, very important. One tip here to help you avoid that is to consider the 5 W's. Now this sounds a little bit silly, but it is very helpful, and it is a technique that I used when writing my personal profile. So the 5 W's are who, what, where, when, why. And maybe not all of them are going to be applicable, but you can use those to pinpoint an experience and develop a really thorough and detailed answer. It gives UBC the chance to see things from all angles and the angles that you see it from as well. Making sure that you're taking the time to actually go into detail and that you're relating this specific experience to the response and your personal profile as a whole is very, very important. Okay, so this might turn into a video with a few more than 5 tips because I'm sitting here and my wheels are turning and now I'm like, okay, this is probably important to include. So bear with me here because there are more than 5 things. The next thing is don't wait until the last minute to write your personal profile. Just don't. Just don't. Give yourself the time, my friends. I can tell the difference between somebody who has spent a long time working on their personal profile versus somebody who has sat down on a Saturday afternoon and spent 1 hour working on it. Make sure that you're giving yourself the time to actually think about what you want to say and the story that you want to share. They give you access to the questions early, so use that time to actually build a really impactful personal profile. The next one is a little bit tricky because you may rely on your resume to actually get some ideas for what you want to include in your personal profile. At the same time though, you don't want to rely on your resume to fill in the blanks of your personal profile. It's really important to make sure that you're reflecting on your experiences and the impact that they've had on you and other people, because your personal profile is not a resume. Let's just make that clear. Your personal profile is all about showing UBC who you are outside of just being a student. Do your best to make sure that you're not treating your personal profile like a resume. Make sure that you are treating it like a story of yourself. Okay, so this is the very last thing, and I think that puts us at 7 things. I don't know. Either way, the very last thing that I want to say is don't copy. Don't get somebody else to write your personal profile for you. It's frustrating because I did share my personal profile online with you guys, and there's a very high chance that a lot of you used that word for word and didn't send me your personal profiles. But for the people that did use some of my responses word for word and actually had the nerve to send me your personal profiles, I read that, I commented on it, and I changed it for you. So in all of this, don't copy anybody else's personal profile because then it's not personal at all. I could understand that there may be different situations that require other people to help you with your personal profile. Believe it or not, I have been asked by people to write their personal profiles for them, and they will wave money in my face. And I'm like, no, I will not do that for you. It makes me sick to think that somebody would try to take advantage like that. I know that ends the video on a little bit of a heavier note than we're used to, but it is really important, and these all are things that are very important when it comes to writing your personal profile. To the best of your ability, if you can try to avoid the first 6 things that I talked about and completely avoid the 7th thing that I talked about, you should be just fine. I know it's stressful, I know it's overwhelming, and when you want something so badly, everything just matters that much more. If you take the time to go through and write a story that reflects who you are and one that you want to share with UBC, you should be just fine. I can't guarantee that you'll get into UBC, but I certainly hope that everything that I've shared in this video and also in my personal profile series helps set you up for success just a little bit more. If this is the first video you're watching related to personal profiles on my channel, I do actually have an entire series all about my personal profile, what I wrote in it, and some tips for each of the different prompts. So make sure you do go and check that out to help maximize your personal profile pizzazz. And if you have any questions or concerns, or you would like somebody to proofread your personal profile, feel free to send it my way because I'm happy to do it. As always, thank you so much for joining me today, you guys, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.